I was sitting in my cramped living room last Christmas, trying to work and avoid the holiday blues. The pandemic kept me inside, and I was feeling really alone. I thought decorating my space might help. So, I got a tiny tree and strung on some ornaments. It felt a bit better, at least for a moment. One night, while watching a Christmas movie, I heard faint thudding noises coming from above me. I figured it was just my neighbor messing with their holiday decorations. I tried to focus on the film, but those sounds kept bugging me. It was annoying, but I brushed it off. The next few nights, the thuds got louder and weirder. I could swear I heard muffled voices mixed in with the thumping. It felt strange, but I didn't jump to conclusions. Maybe I was just tired. Whenever I tried to relax, the noises crept back in, stealing my attention and filling me with unease. On Christmas Eve, it happened again. It was laughter, or at least, I thought it was laughter. It echoed through my walls and sent chills down my spine. I hit pause on the movie, trying to figure out if it was real or my mind playing tricks. I looked out the window, but all I saw were empty rooftops under the dark sky. Was there a celebration happening up there that I couldn't join? Part of me was curious. Maybe I was just imagining things because of isolation, or maybe my neighbor really had someone over. But still, I got a weird feeling in my gut that I couldn't ignore. I thought about knocking on their door, but that idea terrified me. Instead, I sat there frozen, staring at the ceiling, listening. The sounds got more intense each night. My heart raced as I thought I could make out a conversation. But I couldn't catch a single word, just muffled sounds and thudding. I wanted to ignore it, but it pulled me in like a magnet. The next morning, I woke to silence. But it felt heavier. Did any of that happen? Or did I imagine it? Doubt ached in my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, something hidden just out of sight. I thought about the laughter again. It felt close yet far away. As dusk settled in, I heard another soft thud, louder than before. My palms grew sweaty as I scanned my living room, suddenly aware of how quiet everything was. I wondered again about my neighbor's party. What if I wasn't really alone? What if I was being watched? Then came the laughter again, clearer this time. A chill washed over me as I turned to the ceiling, my heart thumping hard. Wait, was that sound coming from my living room? Just then, I heard footsteps above me, creeping closer. I held my breath, fear knotting my stomach. I didn't know what to do. I was paralyzed, staring up at that ceiling, waiting for something to happen. My heart raced as I listened to the footsteps above. Each sound felt deliberate, like someone was plotting, inching closer to my world. I fought the urge to look away from the ceiling, but my neck was stiff, my muscles coiling with tension. Suddenly, a loud bang pierced the silence, followed by a low whisper. The voice was indistinct, just a murmur but laced with urgency. I strained to hear, to understand what was happening just above me. Did my neighbor have company? Were they arguing? The voices grew louder, mixing with the laughter that had haunted me for days. Without thinking, I crept toward my front door, every step cautious. I felt foolish, but curiosity clawed at me. I needed to know. I pressed my ear against the door, hoping to catch snippets of the conversation, but all I heard were muffled echoes and an uneasy silence. My mind raced with possibilities. Had I fallen down some rabbit hole of my own imagination? Then, just as I contemplated retreating, my door creaked open slightly. I jumped back, nearly stumbling over a pile of blankets. The door swung fully ajar, revealing a dark, empty hallway. Was someone playing tricks on me? Or worse, had someone actually come inside? I reached for my phone, wanting to call anyone, but the screen lit up, illuminating my trembling hands. I didn't even have the courage to dial. That's when I heard it again. This time, the laughter was unmistakable. It sounded like children playing, echoing down the hall beyond my door. But who were they? None of this made sense. Something shifted above me, a loud scraping noise that seemed alive, filled with intent. It sent a chill down my spine. The laughter faded into hushed whispers, and I felt an inexplicable urge to run to hide. But my legs wouldn't even move. I was stuck, frozen in place, torn between dread and the need to understand what was happening. Then, without warning, the lights flickered and dimmed in my apartment. The shadows deepened, creeping along the walls like fingers reaching for me. Panic surged through me as I stumbled back against the kitchen counter. I hadn't paid the electric bill this month. It shouldn't be flickering like this. As I fumbled for my phone again, trying to make sense of everything, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. The living room door had swung fully open, revealing an unexpected figure outlined against the dim light of the hallway, small and shadowy, yet unmistakably human. I gasped, breath hitching in my throat. Who was in my home? Then it spoke, its voice low and soft, yet laced with excitement. Come see. We have something for you. My heart dropped as I realized that the laughter I had heard for so long wasn't from above me at all. It was coming from inside the very walls of my own apartment, and just like that, everything went dark. I blinked, trying to adjust to the sudden darkness that swallowed me whole. The absence of light was suffocating, wrapping around me like a heavy shroud. My heart raced as I reached out instinctively, fingers brushing against the wall to steady myself. I had to move, but where? I couldn't even see the door. The shadowy figure from moments before felt like a ghost, haunting my thoughts. What did it want? I fought the urge to call out, fearing the soft whispers would respond. Instead, I took a deep breath and steadied myself, straining to hear any sounds. Then, like a barely audible whisper on the wind, I heard a soft patter against the floor, followed by a giggle that felt both innocent and eerie. It was too close. The laughter echoed off the walls, making my skin crawl. I took a hesitant step forward. Hello? My voice trembled, barely breaking the thick silence. Was I really talking to shadows? The only response was another giggle, just beyond my reach. Slowly, I made my way towards the living room, each step careful and deliberate. I shuffled through the darkness, unsure of where I was headed but drawn by a magnetic force. The air was heavy with a sense of anticipation, as if something significant was just around the corner. And then, suddenly, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room with a dull hum. I squinted against the brightness, but what I saw froze me in place. The living room was transformed. A small table was set up in front of me, adorned with glittering ornaments, tiny gifts, and a glowing candle that flickered as if it contained life itself. Circular string lights hung overhead, creating a cozy effect that felt out of place against my rising dread. I took a cautious step closer. What is this? As if in response to my question, the laughter erupted once more, now clearer, resonating around the room. It was unmistakably children's laughter, lively and joyous. My heart sank. Just then, I caught sight of them, three small figures, faces obscured by playful shadows, peering from behind the couch. They wore colorful winter clothes, flecks of color that contrasted with the dark atmosphere. I felt a mix of fear and bewilderment. Who were they? Come join us. One of them shouted, his voice bright and eager. I stumbled back, heart pounding. No, no. This isn't real. Panic surged through me, fueling every instinct to escape. But something tethered me, rooted my feet to the ground. Don't you want to see? The smallest one asked, eyes wide and glistening with mischief. I opened my mouth to refuse, but then I saw a glimmering box on the table, a ribbon neatly tied around its edges. My eyes latched onto it, intrigue mixing with fear. What was inside? Just a peek. The cheerful voice persisted, drawing me closer against my will. Before I could think clearly, the lights flickered again, plunging me into shadow once more. My pulse raced, and the laughter faded, replaced by the sound of my own breath echoing in the silence. "Wait!" I cried into the dark, longing for answers. But in that moment, I realized I was not alone. The whispers began again, circling around me like a whirlwind of secrets and wonder. And then everything went silent. I stood there, paralyzed by the silence. The laughter and whispers vanished, leaving only the sound of my own breath. My heart beat loudly in my chest, a constant reminder that I was still here, but my mind raced with confusion and dread. I took a cautious step backward, searching the dark corners for any sign of movement. Just when I thought I would be engulfed by the unsettling quiet, a loud thump echoed from the other side of the room. I swung my gaze toward the sound, every nerve in my body alert. "Hello?" I called again, my voice shaky. There was no reply, just a hollow eeriness that settled over me. I felt exposed, like the walls were closing in. Another thump, louder this time, made me jump. It came from the same direction, the table, now heavily shadowed. I squinted into the darkness, the flickering lights struggling to maintain their glow. What was happening? Just a peek. The smallest voice echoed back in my mind, chilling me to the bone. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to move toward the table again. I had to see what lay in the box. Whatever it was, it seemed to hold power over me. As I reached the table, my fingers shook slightly. I could still see the shimmering ribbon, but the box itself now looked more ominous, appearing to pulse with a life of its own amidst the swirling shadows. I traced the edges of the box, my pulse racing. Before I could open it, I heard the soft patter of footsteps behind me. I turned, but saw nothing. A cold shiver ran down my spine. The children's laughter returned, but this time it was a low, discordant harmony that made my stomach churn. "Join us," a voice whispered, too sweet, too enticing. I felt the warmth of my breath leaving my body as I turned back to the box. What if it was a trap of some kind? The lights flickered off again, plunging me into total darkness once more. My heart raced, and I felt adrenaline coursing through my veins. I fumbled wildly for the box, my hands grazing the cool surface. I could feel the ribbon under my fingers, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then, I pressed my palm against the lid and hesitated. That S when I heard it, a soft giggle just inches from my ear. I spun around, but the room remained empty. I was alone, or was I? The candle flickered with urgency as if trying to warn me, and for the briefest moment, I thought I saw a shadow dart past my periphery. My breath quickened. I needed to get out of there. But then something inside me compelled me to stay. I had to know the truth behind this strange gathering. I took a deep breath, feeling tremors of fear and intrigue fighting inside me. As I pulled the ribbon, I felt resistance. The box wouldn't open. Was it locked, or was it something more? Panic surged anew, but curiosity clawed at me, demanding satisfaction. "Let me see," I whispered more fiercely than I intended, and then everything went dark again, but this time it felt different. The whispers grew louder, forming a chorus around me. I barely had time to react before my fingers finally broke through the ribbon and lifted the lid. That S when I saw it. Inside the box was a delicate snow globe, the kind that children gushed over, but this one felt different. It was heavy in my hands, more than just glass and water. Snow swirled around a small, hauntingly familiar scene, a figure dressed in gray standing amidst a forest of twisted black trees, its face hidden beneath a deep hood. I leaned closer, my breath fogging the glass. There was something about the figure that sent chills skittering up my spine. I recognized it. It was the same shadow I thought I'd seen darting earlier, the one that had caught my eye in the flickering light. It felt like more than a memory. It was a thread connecting me directly to this place, The whispers grew louder, and I could hear fragments of laughter mingling with words I couldn't distinguish. It was as if the voices were fighting to be heard, each one desperate to break through. I dropped the snow globe, bracing for it to shatter, but it landed softly on the table without breaking. "Stop it!" I shouted, both at the globe and the laughing shadows. I felt foolish. My voice was swallowed by the echo of more laughter, reverberating through the empty room. This was madness. I stepped back, knocking into something behind me. I spun around, expecting to find a pile of boxes or furniture. But there was nothing, just an empty space where the shadows danced unsettlingly. That S when I saw it move again. A flicker of gray darted across the edge of my vision. My heart raced. I was not alone. The snow globe continued to swirl, and for a moment, I could swear I saw the hooded figure turn its head, its face still obscured, but it seemed to gaze at me. I stumbled back, half expecting it to reach out, to pull me into its chilling grasp. Then the light surged back to life, illuminating the room. For one terrifying second, I saw them children's faces peeking out from the corners, their eyes gleaming with mischief and something darker. I blinked, and they were gone. Just shadows in my mind, it felt like. Terrified, I grabbed the globe again, feeling the cool glass against my skin. What were they asking of me? I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than curiosity. This was a beckoning, an invitation steeped in danger. "Who are you?" I whispered, scanning the room for answers. All I got in response was the soft sound of giggles, weaving around me like a forgotten melody. I needed to escape this madness, yet something tugged at me from the back of my mind. What if I had to face this? To confront the shadows and uncover the truth behind the figure in the globe? The pull was intoxicating, but I resisted. As I turned to leave, the ground beneath me trembled, and the whispers solidified into one coherent voice. "You can't escape us." I froze, realization crashing over me like an icy wave. It wasn't just an invitation, it was a warning. Something was waiting for me, ready to take hold. With renewed determination and a shiver of dread, I looked back at the box, and I knew I had to understand. But knowing what lay ahead wasn't going to be easy, and I was sure this was just the beginning. The next morning, I couldn't shake off the feeling of dread. I avoided looking at the snow globe on the table, half expecting it to start swirling again at any moment. Instead, I kept my focus on the day ahead, pushing down the creeping unease. Maybe if I kept busy, it would go away. I decided to tackle the attic. It had been years since I last stepped foot up there, and my parents had always said it was filled with our family's forgotten memories. I hoped to find something cheerful, maybe even some decorations for the holidays. As I climbed the rickety stairs, I listened to the groaning wood and felt a shiver run through me. The attic was dark and cluttered. Boxes were piled high, their contents spilling out into the narrow path. Dust hung in the air, sparkling in the beam of light from the window. I squinted, trying to make sense of the chaos around me. As I rummaged through an old box labeled holiday stuff, I felt a growing agitation, as if someone was watching me. I shook it off, just my imagination. Inside the box, I unearthed a collection of ornaments, each adorned with glitter and memories. I held one up, a small ceramic angel, its wings chipped but somehow still beautiful. A flicker of nostalgia washed over me, but before I could enjoy it, the temperature in the attic dropped. I shivered again, feeling a cold breath wrap around me. I took a step back, the fragile ornament slipping from my grasp. It shattered against the floorboards. But instead of feeling sorry, I felt a tension build. The shadows in the room seemed to pulse and shift, and I could hear the whispers again, clearer this time, like a chorus of voices blending into one. "Come play with us, we're waiting." My heart raced. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to leave. But as I turned to go, I collided with something solid. My heart sank. The gray figure from the globe stood before me, a woven shadow against the dim light. I couldn't see its face, but I felt its gaze pierce into me. "Why are you here?" I stammered, panic rising in my chest. It didn't answer, but the air around us thickened. The shadows twisted, forming shapes that danced on the old beams. In that moment, everything around me seemed to close in. I bolted past it, stumbling back down the stairs, the whispers echoing in my ears. My thoughts raced. What did it want? Was it here to drag me into the darkness? When I reached the bottom, I slammed the attic door shut, panting heavily. I leaned against it, wiping sweat from my brow, but the whispers still curled around me, seeping through every crevice. There was no escaping them. I glanced at the clock. Hours had passed in what felt like moments. I needed to tell someone, to make them believe me. But who would take me seriously? The shadows had a way of making me question my own sanity. As I turned to head back to the living room, a sudden chill took hold of my spine. My heart skipped as I noticed the snow globe sat on the coffee table, its swirling snow now settling. The figure stood still inside, and this time, it wasn't just looking at me, it was smiling. "I know what you're hiding," it seemed to say, and a jolt of fear surged through me. I backed away slowly, but the room felt like a cage now. The shadows crept closer, and I could hear the soft laughter echoing from the corners again. What had I stumbled into? I thought I knew fear, but this was something else entirely, a sinister game I never asked to play. And I was beginning to realize the rules were changing. I stared at the snow globe, my breath quickening. The figure inside hadn't changed, yet it felt more alive than before. I needed to get out of the room, away from those eyes that seemed to see straight through me. But where could I go? The house felt like it was twisting around me, trapping me in its grip. I glanced at the front door and made a break for it. As I sprinted down the hallway, the shadows swayed at the edges of my vision, beckoning me back. I reached the door and flung it open, cold air washing over me. I stepped outside, feeling the bite of winter on my skin, but I didn't feel safe. I turned back to the house, its windows dark and ominous. That's when I heard it again, the laughter. But this time, it wasn't just in my head. It echoed from inside the house, a taunting melody that sent chills down my spine. I hesitated at the edge of the porch, the desire to escape battling against the pull of curiosity. With a deep breath, I stepped back inside. I wasn't going to let whatever was happening chase me away. I needed answers. The cluttered living room felt less ominous now that I had stepped away from it. I approached the coffee table cautiously, fixating on the snow globe. As I leaned in closer, the image inside shifted. The gray figure moved its mouth, forming silent words. I strained to hear what it was saying, but it was lost in the laughter. I reached out, my fingers trembling, brushing the cool glass. A pulse of energy surged through me. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the shadows seemed to leap from the walls. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over the couch. The laughter intensified, drowning out my own heartbeat. Dread pulled in my stomach, thickening my thoughts. "What do you want from me?" I shouted into the room, hoping for silence in return. But the laughter only grew louder, melding into the whispers. "Play with us," they sang, over and over. It was maddening. Was I losing my mind? I backed into the corner, wishing I could disappear. Then an idea struck. I couldn't face whatever was haunting me alone. I remembered my friend Rachel had grown up hearing tales of the supernatural. She believed in things most people laughed off. If anyone could help me understand this, it was her. I grabbed my phone, my hand shaking as I dialed. The call went straight to voicemail. "Rachel, I need you. Please call me back," I said, hoping she could sense the urgency in my voice. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the attic. The noise shattered whatever courage I had left. I knew I couldn't hide. The shadows stirred, and from the corner of my eye, I saw the gray figure forming again just behind me. From this distance, it no longer looked like a friendly spirit. Its smile twisted into something more sinister. I had to know. I had to confront whatever it was before it consumed me. I took a deep breath. If you want to play a game, I'm ready. But as the room warped around me, and the laughter crescendoed, I realized I might have just signed my own fate. The figure drifted closer, and I felt the air grow heavier. Then everything went dark. I awoke to a cold, biting air. My heart raced as I struggled to focus. The room was dim, illuminated only by the faint glow of the moon through the window. I sat up slowly, a sense of dread washing over me. The laughter had faded, but was replaced by a heavy silence that pressed against my ears. I was still in the living room, but something felt different. The coffee table was overturned, and the snow globe lay shattered on the floor. Pieces of glass glinted menacingly in the shadows. I felt a sharp pang of loss for the answers it held. As I stood up, I noticed something shift in the corner of the room. The figure was still there, twisted and gray, but it was now hunched over, as if waiting. The laughter had turned into whispers, echoing around me, teasing me with snippets of words I couldn't quite grasp. I edged toward the kitchen, seeking some comfort, maybe a glimpse of normalcy. But as I moved, the whispers grew louder, coiling around me. Play with us. The voice was seductive, blending innocence with danger. My instinct screamed that I needed to leave, but I pressed on, driven by an urge to understand. Maybe I could regain some power. I reached for the door leading to the attic, drawn to the source of the earlier crash. The stairs creaked under my weight, each step a reminder that I was risking something. The door at the top was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, its rusty hinges groaning in protest. Inside, the attic was cluttered with dust-covered items, old trunks, and forgotten memories. I felt as if I had walked into a time capsule. As I scanned the room, my eyes fell on a dusty box labeled "Family Keepsakes." It felt like a whisper from the past. I opened it, my heart pounding, half expecting a ghastly surprise. Inside, I found old photographs and strange trinkets, all eerily familiar. One photo caught my eye. It was a family portrait, but something was off. In the corner, there was a shadowy figure, the same gray figure from the snow globe. My breath caught. Had it always been with us? I flipped the picture over, but it was blank. Then I heard a noise behind me, a soft, shuffling sound. I turned quickly, my heart racing again. The door had closed by itself, and a chill enveloped me. "Who is there?" I called out again, my voice trembling. But the attic remained silent. I scanned the room, willing my eyes to adjust to the dimness. That's when I saw it, a flicker of movement. An old toy, the kind that played music. I wasn't sure if I'd even touched it, but somehow it was winding down, as if someone had set it off. I stepped closer, and the music began to play. The notes sounded familiar yet unsettling. A childhood lullaby, twisted into something haunting. "Play with us," the whispers resumed, now parts of the melody. As the music filled my ears, a slow realization dawned. The shadows were moving closer, and I was less alone than I thought. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut. The laughter returned, echoing through the room, a chilling reminder that whatever haunted this house was very much alive and wanted me to join the game. The music echoed, wrapping around me like a freezing fog. My heart pounded in my chest. I was trapped in the attic, and the shadows felt more alive than ever. I looked around frantically, searching for anything that could help me escape. In the far corner, a glint caught my eye. It was a rusty old key, half buried under layers of dust. I rushed toward it, praying it might unlock the door. I snatched it up and felt its weight in my palm, cold, but somehow grounding amidst the chaos. But as I turned back to the door, the whispers escalated, swirling in a mad cacophony. Stay and play join us. Determined to keep my wits, I took a deep breath. I approached the door, key poised to fit in the lock. But right before I could insert it, a sudden rush of air slammed into me. Gasping, I staggered back as the shadows pulled forward, shapes blurring into an indistinguishable mass. I fumbled with the key, shaking with fear. "Go away!" I shouted, unsure why I thought it would make a difference. "Leave me alone!" My voice broke, but the laughter only grew stronger, filling the small room until it seemed to vibrate. Heart racing and hands trembling, I pushed the key into the lock. It turned with an eerie ease, despite the resistance I sensed from beyond the door. I could feel the shadows retreat slightly, as if uncertain about being confronted. I hesitated, my rational mind screaming to flee, but curiosity dragged me back to the storm of whispers. The door creaked open slowly, revealing darkness beyond. I stepped through, clutching the key tightly, another morbid talisman against whatever lay ahead. I found myself in a narrow hallway, the wallpaper peeling and warped, dimly lit by a flickering light bulb that buzzed ominously. I made my way down the corridor, the whispers softening into a gentle hum, almost melodic. "Find us," they urged, seducing me with promises of hidden truths. My heart clenched. Did I want to find them? I shook my head, trying to rid myself of that thought. As I reached the end of the hallway, I stopped in front of another door. It was hewn from old wood, looking out of place, the only thing untouched by the decay surrounding it. I reached for the handle, a nagging voice in my mind screaming to turn back. But I couldn't. I twisted the knob and pushed the door open. It swung wide, unveiling a room filled with long-forgotten childhood relics, old toys, stacks of dusty books, and nearly forgotten memories sprawled in disarray. Then I saw them, the remnants of Christmas. Cards with joyful faces. A dusty wreath hanging lopsided on the wall. But there were no strings of cheerful lights. Instead, a single, worn ornament lay on a shelf, the gray figure reflecting eerily in its cracked surface. That S when I felt it, a cold hand, clammy and small, wrapped tightly around my ankle. Panic surged through me as I looked down. The whispers roared back, "You come to play." I took a step back, heart thundering wildly, but the shadows were closing in again. There was no backing out now. Whatever haunted this house wanted more than just to play. They wanted me. I bolted down the hallway, adrenaline coursing through my veins, each step erupting with forceful urgency. The whispers behind me grew insistent, wrapping around my feet like tendrils of smoke. "Play with us." Their joyous taunts echoed through the dim corridor, sending shards of fear slicing down my spine. I didn't look back. I couldn't afford to. The urge to escape overwhelmed me, forcing my legs to move faster. I could see the front door up ahead, its frame glowing like a beacon. As I reached for the handle, screams and laughter collided behind me, a tumultuous symphony of voices all clamoring for attention. Something cold brushed my shoulder, but I shrugged it off, propelling myself forward with a final burst of energy. I swung the door open and flung myself outside. The cold air hit me like a bucket of icy water, snapping me back to clarity. I stumbled onto the porch, the world outside quiet yet charged with an electric tension, contrasting sharply with the chaos inside. But just before I could bring my foot down onto the first step, I paused. The laughter echoed faintly even here, tugging at my consciousness like it wanted to pull me back. It beckoned, a siren song promising secrets buried beneath fear. My heart thudded, caught between the instinct to flee and the hunger for resolution. Whenever I looked back on it, I would later muse, perhaps that was my mistake. With clenched teeth, I turned and dashed back through the threshold, determined to confront whatever awaited me. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the shadows lingering in the door frame. The darkness was thicker, heavier this time, and each soft step into the house felt like a surrender. Inside, the shadows shifted, I could almost see them breathing, a collective presence winding around the walls. I walked carefully, my pulse pounding like a drum. The living room lay in disarray. The overturned table, scattered furniture, and the remnants of laughter still ringing in the air. I stepped over the shards of the shattered snow globe, shards that sang of forgotten promises and remnants of the past. "Come play," the whispers spiraled around me again, taunting, stinging with anticipation. As I regained my composure, I realized that I had an unusual compulsion to engage with the shadows, to understand their playfulness, yet I could sense a deeper threat hidden within. The door to the attic loomed ahead, beckoning me back up the rickety stairs. I hesitated. Was this where they wanted me to go? Was it a trap or a revelation? Just as I turned to contemplate my next move, the laughter crescendoed, resonating in disproportionate glee. I needed to face the truth, whatever it might be. With newfound determination, I ascended the stairs and opened the attic door. It creaked, as though warning me of what lay beyond. Inside, moonlight spilled through the dusty window, illuminating the clutter and forgotten relics that told countless stories. My heart clenched as I navigated through trinkets and echoes of childhood, searching for the truth amid the chaos. Outside, orbs of light began to flicker behind the distant window, dazzling yet foreboding. I approached the corner where shadows seemed to be coalescing. They danced and swirled, forming shapes that reminded me of the children from before. Familiar yet eerie, with glowing eyes, they pleaded silently for me to understand. "Why are you here?" I breathed, feeling dread wash through me alongside a strange warmth of something like hope. Light gathered in the center of the space, coiling around an old toy chest. Something within it beckoned, drawing me closer. I knelt, reaching for the creaky lid. As I pried it open, a flood of memories surged forth, mingled with the laughter that surrounded me. Inside lay remnants of forgotten innocence, old dolls with cracked porcelain faces, a plush reindeer missing an antler, and ornaments, so many ornaments. But then, an ancient chill pricked at my senses. From beneath the tangle of toys, a small box emerged, shimmering with an otherworldly sheen. My fingers trembled as I lifted it. "Join us." The whispers echoed, intertwining laughter promising both unity and sorrow. As I hesitated once more, shadows spun wildly above me. "It's time," they sang in unison, their voices resonating deep within my bones. What was in the box? What awaited me if I let go of my fear, embraced the unknown? I felt the tug of their invitation mingling with a sense of impending dread, but an unquenchable curiosity blazed within me. The night still held many questions, and the darkness crept closer, but I defaced whatever energies slumbered in that chest. With a shuddering breath, I opened the box, my heart poised on the brink of revelation.